Okay, we begin on Daf Chaf Vav Amud Bet 26b4 at the bottom. In the last class, we basically started from 26b3, the last line, and we got only a few different little pieces because we went in depth on a couple of those very interesting pieces. Unfortunately, the audio was not saved, but thanks to Joey A. Cohen, we may have retrieved the recording from Zoom, and then I can splice the video with the audio from Zoom. It might not be as good quality audio, but at least it will be there. So we're going to continue.
Does not record video, only audio?
It records both, but the video of Zoom is very, very much inferior. It's also bouncing back and forth between the speaker and as well all the other videos anytime anyone makes any noise. Okay, let's begin 26b4. In order to just catch up for those that could not hear the sound, since it's so little, we'll do it but not in depth. Let's start at 26b3. We're going to go back just a little bit to where we began last time. Tan Rabbanan, last line of 26b3. Hayotze beged karua, someone who goes out with beged karua with an already ripped shirt. So in other words, he's attending the funeral with the shirt that's already ripped. And this is referring to someone who is unable, who's not obligated to tear kiriyah. He goes out with in front of the Met and it's torn. So in other words, he didn't rip it after when he was supposed to. He had a ripped shirt, maybe from a previous time, and he wore that shirt. Says the Gemara, he's stealing from the dead and the alive. We explained that when is he stealing from the dead? When he had an obligation to tear for the dead, so he's stealing from the dead. Because he really was supposed to rip for them, and what did he do instead? He just used the pre-ripped item. So it's like he stole from them the kavod of tearing for them. And at Tachaim, the people that are alive, they think he ripped in solidarity with them. This is a good friend. Meanwhile, actually, the guy is really, he's putting it on, and he's deceiving them. And that's called ginevat dat, where you make someone think that you've done something for them. They feel indebted to you, but really you've not done it for them. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, someone says to his friend, Hashiluni chalukech, let me borrow your cloak, your coat, your jacket, your shirt, whatever. I'm going to go visit my father who is sick. He goes and he finds that his father has already passed away. This person who borrowed the jacket, what does he do? He tears his friend's jacket, even though it's his friend's, he tears his friend's jacket, and he repairs it, completely repairs it. Now we've said already before many times, that when it's over a parent, does a person fix it? No, he does not fix it completely forever. So why over here is he fixing it completely? Because it's not his, belongs to his friend. When he goes home after the Shiva, he gives him back his completely fixed cloak, and he pays him for the value of the tear in the cloak. So he gives him the torn and mended cloak plus the money of the difference between a torn cloak and a fixed one. What if he didn't tell him, oh, I'm going to visit my sick father? He said, can I borrow your cloak? I'm going to mincha. Then what's the halakha? He's not allowed to tear. Why? Since it belongs to somebody else, you're not allowed to tear the clothing of somebody else. You only tear your own clothing. You're not allowed to do so. So if he didn't tell him that the guy's not expecting it, he didn't give him permission, implicit or explicit, he's not allowed to tear it. If he told the guy he's going to visit his sick father, the guy knows that there's a chance it might be the case. So we expect that he understood that and was already allowing for that to be a possibility. Yes?
Does he owe his debt?
Please only answer amen if you're listening to this live. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol nהיה baro.
Amen. Does he owe his dead father to rip another piece of clothing so that he remains with a piece of ripped clothing?
No. Halakha is once it was ripped, he can't fix it. But if that article of clothing was something that he has a side obligation to fix for a different reason, so that would trump the And there's no chiyuv to have a ripped piece of clothing. Okay?
In this class, Louis, in Leilui Nishmata Margalit Chana Bat Rav Aaron Meir.
Of course. Leilui Nishmata for Margalit Chana Bat
Rav Aaron Meir.
Rav Aaron Meir. The Braita continues. Tan Rabbanan, Chole shemet lomet, if someone has a sick person and he has someone that passes away. En modino toshemet. You don't tell the sick person that the person in the family died. Why? We're worried, Shema tetraf adatu alav. We're worried that this ill person won't be able to handle the news. We just talked about that in the breakfast class. So you don't even tell him that the person passed away. Ve'en mikar'in b'fanav. Also, other people who have an obligation to tear when they find out the news, you don't rip either in front of them, and maybe they'll figure it out. And if there's women, mourners that are screaming or crying or eulogizing, we silence them in front of the choleh, that the choleh should not know what happened. By the way, this happens all the time. You don't think so, but you have elderly people that find out that we're worried that the news will kill them. So you don't tell them. Either you tell them months later, or when they get strong again, or they don't tell them at all. Now, if the person has a very strong contact, with that old elderly person, then they're going to find that anyway. But there are many times where they'll protect or shield the person, or they'll figure out a way in which they can tell them the news with the whole family around so they can comfort them. So the halacha is that we're worried about the sakanat nefashot. Let's say you have someone who's a young person. This is a separate case, not the same case. If you have a young person who's under the age of chinuch, do they have an obligation to tear? No, less than bar mitzvah. They're not obligated in any mitzvah. So you don't have to tear, technically. Someone who's less than that age, they don't have to tear because they have no hayuv on mourning. However, the minhag is that we tear, or even for young children, in order to have the mourning for the person be increased. Because if anyone sees a young child tearing kiriyah, it's heartbreaking. So it arouses a greater sense of mourning for the person who passed away when they tear the clothing of a child.
So it's a different reason. It's for the
Correct.
other people, not for the person.
Not for the child, yes. A person tears also for his father-in-law and mother-in-law, in order to honor his wife. His wife is suffering, she's in pain, and when the person tears for his wife's chiyuv, it's illustrative of giving that kavod and giving that support to his wife. We do not hold like this.
They don't sit in the chair.
We don't hold like this la halacha as well. Today, most people are not doing this. There's lots of different halachot that today we're not noheg, even though it's in the Gemara. Okay? We also learned, interestingly enough, halacha quite recently that unfortunately came up quite recently in my family, and that was, we talked about the idea that it can't be that the person passed away in front of them, because if they passed away in front of them, they would have chiyuv kira. So we learned that the halacha lema'aseh is, if someone is present in the time of yitziat neshama, when the person's soul departs the body, they have a chiyuv to tear, even if they're not a family member. Anyone who's present b'shat ma'aseh, that's halacha. Yeah.
These Hatzalah people, God forbid.
Oh, so what about Hatzalah people? What about doctors? What about people, family members that are not obligated in Kiryah? So a grandchild or whatever, okay? The halacha is, and that was what the case that just happened recently. My wife's uncle passed away right before Shabbat, and my brother-in-law, who is a nephew, was present in the time that he passed. So he didn't know if he should tear or not. And he asked, and they told him no. What's the reason? Even though we learned the halakha is, person who's present in the time of Yetziat Neshama has to tear. The answer is, because they realized that if they obligated people to tear when they were there b'shat Yetziat Neshama, people would not stay with someone who was going to pass away. They wouldn't want to tear. Or you have doctors. They're like, I can't tear every day. Or you have Hatzalah members. So in order that people should be willing to be with the guy b'shat neshama, so the minhag is that we don't obligate to tear during shat kiriyah. Amar Rav Papa. Rav Papa says,
Someone who is obligated should tear at
no,
that moment.
no, because they're going to tear at a later point anyway. But the reason why they're not tearing is because they're going to tear. They're going to tear later. Yeah, after the burial. Rav Papa says, Tana be'evel rapti. We learned in evel rapti, This is also a little known halakha that a person's avel, they don't put a child, they don't give them a baby to hold. Because the child causes the person to laugh. And it looks completely, people will be disgusted. How could this guy be laughing? You know, he just lost that.
Happy from the baby.
You just lost, right. So the happiness from the baby.
Like you said yesterday, you don't want to mention during the bar mitzvah. You want to say.
Yes.
Same concept.
Exactly. And it seems also.
Happiness out of
seems also inappropriate. Yeah. The guy's laughing. Now people start thinking, oh, he hated his father.
No good.
Guy's laughing. He doesn't, no good. Okay. Says the Mishnah. This is what we were up to last time. Mavrin means eating the mourner's meal. So what's the mourner's meal? The mourner's meal is the meal that they get served, which is the first meal when they come back from the burial. Egg, pita, right? Wine, okay? Various things, different customs that people have for the mourner's meal. The mourner's meal, as we know, halachically has many different stipulations. It can't be from the person himself. It needs to be served by others, right? There's certain foods that he's supposed to have. He's not supposed to have. There's certain foods he's not supposed to have. So there's a special mourner's meal. Okay. Now in that mourner's meal, says the Gemara, En mavrin ela amitot zegufot. When they serve the mourner's meal to the mourners, the people who are not in mourning, okay, the servers, they sit on mitot zekufot, upright beds. Remember, we talked about this idea that back then one of the customs was fa'avelut, they would turn the beds upside down. They would sit on the upside down bed. Okay? Now, one understanding of this Gemara is that the people serving the meal, since they are not the mourners, they sit on an upright bed. They don't also sit along with the mourners on the ground. Okay? That's one opinion. Second opinion is that even the mourner himself sits on a upright bed because out of kavod for the people serving him, he shouldn't be on the floor while they're here on the bed with him. So two opinions as to how we do it. The way we do it now is while the person is sitting. But the servers are also not sitting with them. Okay. Gemara continues. Also, by the way, it's something to be careful. People sometimes they don't realize their good friend is sitting in the morning chair. And they want to sit next to their friend, so they sit in the mourner's chair next to them. Bar minan. There's not something to do. You see someone doing that, you tell them, don't sit there. It's not, you're not in mourning, Baruch Hashem. You don't want to sit there. Also, al tiftach peh l'satan. Says the Gemara. Tan Rabbanan. We learn in the Braita, someone who goes to a mourner's house, let's say the person is very close to him, yavru al mitot kefuyot. Then they should serve the person on beds that are overturned. But if they're not close, yavru al mitot zekufot. Then they should serve him on upright beds. So the Braita seems to be saying that it depends on how close you are with the mourner. Okay? The Gemara, and I'll explain what that means in a second. The Gemara says, Rava itrabe milta. Something terrible happened to Rava. Al ligabe Abba bar Marta, du Abba bar Menyumi. There was a certain man, his name is Abba bar Marta, also known as Abba bar Menyumi, came to do this Sudat Havra'ah, the Sudah of the mourners. Rava Zakif. Rava, what did he do? He turned the bed over for Abba bar Marta to sit on. According to the other opinion, it means for himself to sit with him. Abba bar Marta kafi. Abba bar Marti took the bed and he turned it over again. Amar, he said, Kama lit be data lahut samaraman. I can't believe how little this guy knows, right? That he's turning it back over to sit with me. Okay? Now what does it seem to indicate? What does Rava seem to be saying? That he's not allowed to sit with him. Now, I was a little troubled by this Gemara. Okay, again, I want to figure out why.
They're speaking about just the meal and not the week.
Sorry?
They're speaking about just the first meal and not about the whole week.
No, I'm saying, what am I troubled with the comment that Rava made?
Maybe the guy's close to him.
Oh! So maybe he's not lacking in sense.
No.
Maybe he's close to him.
He feels very close to the guy.
Let's look at Rashi at the bottom.
Maybe.
Rava, you see the bottom two lines in the tiny letters, right at the bottom of the page. Rava, shehu avel, zakuf. He was sitting on the upturned bed. He turned it over. Mitot zakufot. Amar Rava let bedat be'aba bar Marta. This man doesn't know. Ve'lo chazi ihu de libo gasba. Let's read that again. He does not know. Ve'lo chazi ihu de libo gasbo. He did not seem, right, to him to have a closeness with this person. Okay, you got that?
Yeah.
So in other words, the question you have to ask is, it looks like from the Gemara, Rava is saying, the guy don't know the halakha. Halakha is, he's supposed to sit on an upstanding bed, right? Unless he's very close. So we asked, why is Rava saying that he got the halakha wrong? Maybe the guy feels very close. Yeah? The answer is Rava is saying this man obviously doesn't have the wisdom to be able to realize that we're not that close. Not he doesn't have wisdom to know the halakha. He doesn't have wisdom, enough EQ to be able to tell that we're not this close, that he should be doing this mitzvah for me.
How would he know how close that guy is?
Sorry?
How would Rava know what that guy thinks? He's judging his intellectual ability of understanding the rule. But how does he know he's not close to him? Why is he assuming he's not close to him?
Rava is saying,
He's making a judgment. Rava.
well, I should know if I'm close to you. You might think you are, but I'm not. I don't feel that level of closeness.
Okay, so you don't do it. He did it.
No. In other words, the only way closeness is reciprocal. So you can't be close to me if I'm not close to you.
Oh.
So Rava is saying, like, you don't have that you think you're so close to me that you think this is the halakha.
Some people do feel that.
A mistaken sense of closeness.
There is people that are.
Yes.
They're closer.
create a relationship
They think they're closer than you think they are.
Adina, that happens all the time with me.
Yeah, sure.
Because people listen to class every day.
They get close to you in a
They get
different
close
way.
to you. I never met them in my life.
They feel close to you, though.
But they think we're best friends. Now again, it's not that I'm not best friends with them. It's not that I'm rejecting their friendship. I don't know who they are.
I think that happens.
I never saw them in my life. But in their mind, every single day.
The relationship.
Now Rava was a great sage, taught many people. Probably Abba Bar Marta, who was a younger sage, felt, he felt close. So he turned over the bed. And Rava's like, dude, maybe you feel, but we're not that close. You don't have the dot to be able to tell the difference between something real and
Rava's
something.
talking about himself in the morning.
No, he's talking about this person's understanding of the reality in ruling halakha. You're deciding that we're close, so you're following this halakha. You don't have enough wisdom to be able to tell that closeness, or EQ, to be able to tell that this closeness is a one-sided level of closeness. Okay? Now, let me just...
But there's got to be a third party involved. The person
Why?
that's mourning.
Rava's the mourner.
That's what I'm saying. So he's the guy mourning.
Rava's the mourner.
I don't know this guy that well. Why
So-
are you doing it?
Exactly, that's the point. So Rava's saying to Abba Bar Marta, here, turn over the bed. What does the guy do? Turns the bed back over.
Right.
So Rava says, you don't know what you're doing? Now, by the way, how's Abba Marta supposed to know this?
It's unusual.
How's he supposed to know how Rava feels about their friendship?
That's what he was saying.
You know what the answer is? The answer is Rava turned over the bed. So Rava already, by turning over the bed, told him, you're not that close with me. Now the guy turns it over, he's arguing with Rava. Rava's like, don't you understand? You think I don't know the halakha? You got it?
The character is also the mourner.
The character is the mourner. The character is the mourner, and the other person is the other person in the story, but also in the halakha, right? So you get the two things. Okay. So now let me just be clear. I want to be clear. if a person is close, right? So then they sit with the mourner. But what did we said? We said earlier.
Not next to him.
No, he sits next to him on the overturned bed. So what did we said before? But he's not a mourner. It's ayin hara. It's ayib. You shouldn't do it. I said the guy feels so close. What's the answer? The answer is, if a person is so close, then it's not that the person is not paying attention to the avelut and should not be sitting avelut because he's not a ave. No, he's sitting as an adjunct to his friend's avelut. But it's only if they're so close that it's immediately evident that this is not me or me being light with the concept of avelut, but rather me being close to you to help you in your avelut. Yeah. Is that clear? Okay. Let's continue.
It's a very subjective thing.
Yeah.
A person could feel very sad for somebody.
I would always say err on the side of caution. Err on the side of caution.
It's not a
Don't
bad
sit.
quality, though. For a
Huh?
person to do.
Err on the side of caution. Err on the side of erring.
Don't.
Okay.
It's a little bit more personal. We don't
Yeah.
really have that anymore. We have these seats on the floor.
Correct. So the equivalent of the overturned bed would be the shiva seats, let's say. Okay?
They're not. That's still not as sort of intimate as a bed.
Yeah, but if you use the bed as a bench, then it wouldn't be intimate. So
Right.
it kind of cancels each other out a little bit. Okay. Says the Gemara. By the way, also, let me just on that note, we talk about this on the night of Pesach, when a person's eating, and they're eating like royalty. What do? They lean. They ate on their beds.
Yeah.
They ate on a bed.
Different.
Whole different item. So the bed piece of furniture was a different, the relationship with it was very different. Okay. Gemara continues. Tan Rabbanan. Someone who's going from one place to another. So he's traveling, he's in China, going from factory, okay? All of a sudden he finds out that he gets this terrible news of avelut. If he could minimize the business that he's doing while he's on this business trip, if it's possible, we'll see what it means if it's possible. Anything's possible. Yima'et, then he should minimize, because as we said, during Shiva, a person is not really allowed to do business. V'im lav, and if it's impossible, what does impossible mean? Go back to the beginning of Moed Kattan.
He doesn't know.
No, beginning of Moed Kattan. The laws of Chol Moed. What kind of business are you allowed to do?
You're allowed to not lose money.
Not lose money. So what does it mean if it's possible? Of course it's possible. I can just not do business.
Reduce your level.
If I could do business in a way where I'm not suffering a loss, but not acting for profit, then that's the appropriate thing to do. But if a person is going to suffer a loss, he's already there. He didn't go there with the knowledge, so we're not going to penalize him that he should have to lose money because he went with the right intention. He was doing it correct. V'im lav yigalgel imahen. He's allowed to continue doing the business so long as it's begilgul, but not by himself. Now, let's just explain what it means. Look at the top Rashi. Rashi says, what does it mean? Yigalgel imahen. Sounds like if there's a loss involved, I could do it, like Chol Moed. No, Yigalgel imahen is an extra level, an extra barrier. Ve'eno oseh schora b'fnei atzmo, ela im chabura. He doesn't do the business by himself, he does it with the group, Yani. He's in a caravan of SYs in China. He finds out this news. So what does he do? He can't now, if he doesn't do the business, he's going to lose his whole order. So he's going to suffer a loss. On loss, suffrage, what is he allowed to do? He's allowed to tell the other guy in the caravan, listen, I need you to handle this because I can't lose this. If I lose this account, I'm going to lose a tremendous amount of money. Handle it for me. That's Yigalgel imahen. Let's say he's traveling solo, though. He would not be allowed, it seems like from this Gemara, or if it's not the case, or if, let's say, he is with other people, he can't close the deal himself. That he can't do. Okay?
So just because he's not where the Shiva is, this is allowed. He didn't get to where the Shiva is, he's traveling.
Yeah.
Here's a loss. In that state of being away, not at the Shiva, he could do this minimized working up.
Correct.
Right. But in a normal circumstance, he would right away hit the Shiva and not do anything. Under normal circumstances.
In a normal circumstance, yes.
Right?
Yeah, in a,
On the way to
Since he's
business,
not there.
Yes,
he's
in
allowed
a
this
normal-
lower level
of
mourning.
of mourning. Yes, exactly.
Oh.
Okay.
Is he actually in mourning?
Lower level.
Oh, but that means the burial took place that way. If the burial hadn't taken place, then he's in One.
Correct. We're talking about that he found out that it had already taken
Burial
place.
took place.
So he's now in Shiva for this person. Now, the commentators actually add over here that we're talking about a very specific case. Because in every case of mourning, you have this limitation of stuff that you're only allowed to engage in business for a loss. So why are we talking about over here with a higher level? He's already in the business trip. He has to do it with somebody else. Mefashim said this is talking about where the loss was for a parent. Okay, so it's the higher level of loss. Yegalgel imahen for the parent. Okay, Tana Rabbanan. We go back now to where we were before. Tana Rabbanan. At what point do we overturn the bed? Mishiyetze mipet.
So you're insinuating that if it wasn't for a parent,
Yeah.
insinuating that he wouldn't have to do anything different. Is that true?
If it wasn't for a parent, then we wouldn't
found
need.
out.
We would not need the case to be when the guy was in China. This would be the halakha even if he was home.
Okay, so if he's in China and he finds out that his sibling
So why did we
he
add?
wouldn't do anything?
No, he would. No, for sure he would be able to do what we're saying he's able to do. The chidush here is this is also the case if you're home. So why do we come up with a case? The guy's on a business trip. The answer is because when it comes to a parent,
If you're home, you
even that is asur. Okay, parent has a much higher level. So when it comes to a parent and you're on the business trip, then you're able to do this. But if you're not on a business trip, you're at home for a parent, you would not be able to do this, even if it was a loss. The reason why we gave you the leeway, even though it's for a parent, is because you already traveled.
If you're
Exactly.
away and it's not a parent, it would be more lenient, is what you're saying.
Or it would be the same,
lenient. You would-
or it would be the same, but it wouldn't require going away.
No, but we're focusing on being away.
I understand. But let's say you were not away. What would the halakha be for a sibling?
You go to
Same
Shiva,
halakha.
Shiva, yeah, okay.
No. But you'd be allowed to protect from a loss, even if you were home,
Okay.
for a sibling. So therefore, the question is, why did we need? So in other words, you can't prove from here that for a sibling, if you're away, you could do more. You could only prove that it's also that you only exactly. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about a child?
But we don't practice this now.
Sorry.
What about for a child, God forbid?
What about for no child? Is the same as a sibling. The highest level of mourning is
practice
always
this, obviously.
for a parent. Sorry.
We don't practice this, obviously.
Why not?
Because right now, when you're home, when you're
Yeah.
after the burial, you should shiver. You're not going to do transact business not to suffer a loss while you're in shiver.
So we
don't
talked.
do anything.
So what we said was a person is allowed to do it, is allowed to not suffer a loss.
Yeah.
But remember, there's the condition of yigalgeli mahen, of through others. So let's say someone comes to him and they say, "Listen, I know it's shiva, and this, that, and the other, but there's an issue over here with the factory. If we don't make a decision, the whole
While
factory."
I'm in shiva, I could actually pick up the phone and call my guy in the office and say, "This matter we have going on, manage this matter a certain way."
If
you
it-
think that's allowed during shiva?
If you're going to suffer a loss, yes,
Wow.
yes,
That's unbelievable.
yes. Okay.
I didn't they touched the. I didn't touch the bill. Okay, I got
That's
it.
more meaningful shift.
No. I thought you were like in taboo. You weren't allowed to do it. Zero.
Okay.
Right. You know.
No, so again, remember, again, not every bit of this
Yeah, I understand.
depends on which Rishonim we're going with.
Yeah,
but the way we're learning the Gemara right now is this is for a parent, and that's why it's only in the case of travel. Okay. Gemara continues. Okay. At what point do they turn over the beds to be sitting on this lower thing? Once the body leaves the door of the house, already from that point you turn it over. Did Rabbi Eliezer? Rabbi Yeshua Omer, no. Yeshua says no. When they close up the lid of the casket, okay, at that point is when the laws of mourning would start. So that at that point you have this thing. Now, by the way, there's two ways of translating mishiyisatem hagolel from when you close the top. The other way is when they seal the hole,
ground.
and they close the ground. Okay, so there's two ways: either the casket or the ground. But the point,
Casket, the way we do it now, obviously, is not there.
yeah,
We do it before. They prepare it. They do it. They bring it. and then the burial, right? We don't cover the
They
casket
don't
at the
finish it a
funeral.
lot till later.
No, it's covered.
It's already covered from earlier.
Already
But
from
not
before.
completely.
Yeah,
No, the
completely.
casket is covered
Yeah,
earlier.
It's in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, but they don't complete it a lot of times so people leave, like the burial sites. They might throw a lot of.
No, you're talking about the burial. He's talking about the top of the
He's
casket.
saying that he's
Just the
doing
top
two
of the
different things.
of the casket.
But we're saying we don't do that, though, right? We're
Jerusalem,
talking about
there's
the
no
olden
casket.
days is different. Yeah,
Jerusalem, no casket.
Jerusalem, no casket. Correct. Yeah.
Oh, so that would apply differently.
So it would need. So you would need to have something.
burial
Yeah.
thing.
Now also we're talking about over here. We're talking about over here where the casket is closed.
Body in a shroud.
We're talking about the case where the casket is closed for the final time. Like as an example, if they covered it but it was only for transport, but they were going to open it again, that's not yisatem hagula. That's not. So the final time that it's closed, or where the whole the grave actual is sealed. At that point, the beds get turned over. Gemara continues and says, what about this machloket in real life? When the elder Rabban Gamliel, there was multiple Rabban Gamliels because remember there was a chain, Rabban Gamliel, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabban Gamliel, there was also Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, okay? Once they took him out of the house, Amar lehem Rabbi Eliezer said on the spot, Kifu mitotechem, turn over the beds because now we start. Kivan shenistama golel. Once they closed the casket or the hole, Amar lehem Rabbi Yehoshua said, Kifu mitotechem, turn over your beds. Amrulo, they said, Kfar kafinu apizaken. We already overturned them because Rabbi Eliezer told us to turn them over when they left the house. So you see that Rabbi Eliezer follows the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer over here. Rabbi Yehoshua follows the opinion in real life of the Braita that we just learned. So you see, there was an example of when they expressed their opinion in the death of Rabban
The
Gamliel.
bed is only the bed of the Met, not the other 5 beds in the house.
No, it means the bed that they're sitting on.
They used.
The bed that they're going to be sitting on in the house, like the Shiva chairs.
Oh, we're not talking about the bed of the Met?
Now we are no.
When my grandmother died, they overturned her
That's
bed.
another item. That's another item. Remember, we talked about giving the person the final meal, and we said he sits on overturned bed, and they don't sit on overturned beds.
Right, now we're talking about sugar chair.
Yes, exactly. Which is, again, in their parlance, was the beds in the house, which were also used to sit on. Gemara continues, okay? Tana Rabbanan. At what point do you turn the beds right side up Erev Shabbat? Now remember, we had this idea that Shabbat it doesn't have any overt mourning. So if the beds are turned over and someone comes into the house, then there's signs of mourning on Shabbat. So what do? They would turn the beds over for Shabbat. So the question is, at what point do we turn over the beds? Answers the Gemara, Mina mincha udema'ala, from the time of mincha. So what does that mean? Does it depend on what time the shul is praying? No. The halakha is, it's talking about from the halachic time of mincha. Sorry? Yes. So the first time that you're able to pray mincha, okay, which is roughly in the middle of the day, plus a little bit, they add a little bit of time.
On Shabbat, go early. Leave, go. The morning on Friday. What time is the morning? Remember I asked you?
Oh, the morning, yes. Okay, yeah.
Corresponding.
I didn't know that you were
You can
using
leave.
MOU. You mean the morning. Morning ends Erev Shabbat. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying like when the mourners are sitting on
Yeah.
beds, it's overturned beds. That day they can actually get up and leave to
So-
go for mincha. Prepare.
So that's a
early
different
today.
item.
But it's similar to...
That's a different item. Let me tell you why. Because when they sit on Erev Shabbat, really they don't get up at noon. They get up with enough time to prepare for Shabbat.
Right.
So that's not mincha time. Let's take a long day. Let's say middle of the Shiva, there's a Friday. Summer. So let's say Shabbat comes in 7:45 p.m.
Okay.
What time did the mourners get up? Not 12 o'clock.
No.
Not 12:30.
No.
6.
So you're saying Mincha Gedolah could have been at 12.
Mincha was much earlier. So when we're talking about the turning over the beds, you're allowed to turn over the beds earlier. But that doesn't mean that the mourners that are not sitting in a state of mourning. Okay, fine. Amar Rav Arhuna. Rav Arhuna says, Afal Pikein, even though Ani Yoshev Alea, he doesn't sit on the upright bed. So what did we just explain? Exactly the comment that Joey made. So now you're telling me that once Mincha Geulah comes along, so flipping the beds back over, there's no mourning? Says Rabbi Haruna, no. Yes, we have to turn over the beds earlier in the preparation for Shabbat, but the mourning doesn't stop. He still has to sit. He's not allowed to sit on the upright bed until the evening, because technically until right before Shabbat, he's still in mourning. And then the Shabbat only removes public displays of mourning. Let's continue. Motzei Shabbat. And what happens Motzei Shabbat? Okay? Afapi she'en lo leshev ela yom echad. Even if he's only going to sit till tomorrow morning, chozer v'chofeh. He turns over the beds of the house. Why? Because the mourning really goes until Sunday night.
Yeah, but we do the morning.
But since we'd say miktzat hayom kikulo, half a day is like a whole day, so the guys are going to get up Sunday morning. So now I have to turn over the beds just from tonight until tomorrow morning? Yes, because the laws of mourning are in effect until that time. Gemara continues. Tanu Rabbanan. Hakofeh mitato, someone turns over the bed, lo mitato bilvad ukofeh. Not only does he overturn his own bed, the bed of the mourner, ela kol mitot shesh lo beto ukofeh. He overturns all the beds in the house. V'afilu yesh lo 10 mitot ba'asara mekomot. Even if he has 10 beds in 10 different places, kofeh et kulam. He turns them all over. V'afilu chamisha achin. Let's say you have 5 brothers. Umet echad, and one of them passes away. Kulan kofin. Okay? All of them overturn their beds, even in the individual houses, not in the same location. Let's say they have a bed that was not really used for sitting or sleeping. It was used only for to hold dishes. They have it like a veranda, like a sideboard. Okay, you don't really turn it over because no one's sitting on it. The beds that we're turning over are beds that people are sitting and sleeping on. So let's just go through Rashi. What is Rashi is telling us on these 5 brothers? To look at Rashi, Rashi says like this. Asara mitot ve'asara mikomot. Derech leshev alehem. The guy has 10 different beds, but they're all around the house. Avalim hem makom. Echad zu al gav zu lo. If you have a bunch of beds, one on top of the other, you don't have obligation to turn over mattresses that are not all going to be sat on. Okay, he doesn't have to go start flipping mattresses in his attic. Okay, we're talking about mattresses that the person's going to sit on or might sit on, so those should all be turned over. Mita miyuchedet le'aniach alea kelim ve'ena miyuched li'shiva u'shchiva. What if you have a bed that's not for sitting but it's just for to hold suitcases or whatever? That does not need to be turned over. What is this law of the 5 brothers and how do you call it? And each one turning over the different ones, right? Since what's it called? Since that mourner is not sitting in their own house, you have all 5 brothers. They're sitting in the house of mourning. Right, so I might think that all that you turn over is in the house of mourning. Says Halacha, no. Even if you now go back home to your house, even though the mourning was in the other house, the law follows the mourner, not the house of mourning, or not the place where the person passed away. Okay? Which obviously is quite logical. If I have a hayuv, a person has a hayuv shiva, barmenan, right? Yeah, that follows you. It's not, okay.
Since we're not doing the beds, we don't know.
Okay, says the Gemara. You know what, we're going to call it for here. I don't want to get into the new sugya of Dargash. We're going to end 27A2 at the bottom, Dargash. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'amen. Bili neder, I'm going to upload the audio for the last class, and as well this one, hopefully, immediately. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'amen.